to everyone. I'm the Bulgarian ambassador to Spain. Muy buenos días a todos. Y solamente dos palabras de agradecimiento por hoy aquí tener este webinario, porque de mi punto de vista la cuestión de la ampliación de la Unión Europea es una cuestión central. Pero como un diplomático en Madrid, mi visión es que en los últimos tiempos esta cuestión se ha quedado en las márgenes de la discusión política, especialmente en España. And now, moving to the core issue, which is this event today, and of course, I would like to keep my intervention short, but of course, I have to present the point of view of my country, of Bulgaria, because recently my country has been blamed for stopping the enlargement process, has been blamed for being the responsible for the EU fatigue on the Western Balkans. First of all, I have to underline with two very bold lines that Bulgaria is a very strong among the strongest supporters in the EU of the enlargement process. And we have in our history, we have confirmed this on several occasions, even very recently, only 3 years ago, during the Bulgarian EU Council presidency, because exactly Bulgaria was the second country after Greece, and I'm looking at my friends, the ambassador of Greece in Spain, because his country put the issue of the enlargement of the Western Balkans in the EU agenda in 2003. So the next one was Bulgaria in 2018. And we commend the efforts of the Slovenian presidency to go ahead with this issue as well. Now, the enlargement process is not a calendar-driven phenomenon. The enlargement process is a merit-based process, and all of us, we know this. We hope that the 6 Western Balkan countries, one day they will become full-fledged members of the European Union. But at this stage, we are not in a position to put a common denominator between all of them, because each one of them is in a different stage of preparation, and each one of them has opened different chapters, for instance, and others are expecting to start accession negotiations. Well, now I'll focus exactly on this issue. Perhaps this is the first case in the history of the enlargement process when, unfortunately, a member state is threatened by several positions declared by a candidate state. In the case of Bulgaria, Bulgaria is threatened, unfortunately, by irredentist policies which contain territorial, minority, and historical claims regarding Bulgaria, and unfortunately, this is done by our very good neighbors, the Republic of North Macedonia. We're trying to overcome this issue, and we negotiated during 15 years of bilateral agreements. And these bilateral agreements were signed weeks or months before the accession of the Republic of North Macedonia to NATO. But what was the subsequent event? Unfortunately, this bilateral agreement was unilaterally suspended by our neighbors in terms of their application. Allow me to express that Bulgaria doesn't agree with the assessments that the Republic of North Macedonia at this stage complies with the existing criteria for starting the accession negotiations. And basically, because we have a very severe infringement of the state of the neighborhood relations. And the second point is the deploring situation of human rights of all those citizens in the Republic of North Macedonia with Bulgarian consciousness. I don't know how much of you are aware, but in the Republic of North Macedonia, we have 120,000 citizens with dual nationality. So those people, they have Bulgarian nationality as well. So those people, they have EU passports as well. And when we're speaking about the interests of the European Union, we think that there should be no hurry in this process. The interests of those people should be safeguarded. But let me put things on a more constructive basis.
Yes, please.
And my apologies. I have a very concrete question addressed to the Deputy Prime Minister of the Republic of North Macedonia, Mr. Dimitrov. And the question is the following. More than 2 months ago, the Republic of Bulgaria has submitted the so-called 5+1 package proposal. So far, we haven't received any kind of answer from the Republic of North Macedonia. My question is, do you intend to respond to this proposal? And the second issue is, we're less than 1 month to the next EU Council on the 14th of December. I hope that all of us were realistic, and you don't expect that Bulgaria will change its position till the 14th of December this year.
Being experienced in bilateral issues, I usually try, also as a former diplomat, I try to avoid taking this whole event and then, because this was not exactly a question, it was more elaboration of the positions, etc. I negotiated the friendship agreement. It was signed by the prime ministers. We did it in our 3rd month as a government. And the friendship agreement is about expanding cooperation of today so that we build a better future, and leaving history to a committee of historians who will discuss it. They've met over 10 times in this last couple of years. We also essentially aimed at helping them and increasing the success of their work, proposed to our Bulgarian neighbors to import expertise from UNESCO. Germany also, even the Czech Republic also offered expertise, countries with experience on these sort of issues. The Article 2 of the Friendship Agreement says that Bulgaria will assist the efforts of North Macedonia on our way to the European Union. Blocking is definitely not assisting. It's really difficult to point to an article in the Friendship Treaty that we are not in line with. We started an important process that was somehow derailed. I personally still struggle to exactly understand why this happened. In the draft negotiating framework that is still on the table, there is one technical paragraph that is always the same for all countries moving into the accession process. And the article says the country In the case of Serbia, it's Serbia. In the case of North Macedonia, it's North Macedonia. Will translate the acquis into the Serbian language, the Croatian language, the Macedonian language in our case, and will have enough interpreters before it joins to enable proper functioning of the Union once it becomes a member. Bulgaria has an issue with this paragraph. And I think this is really detrimental to our friendship. It is not decent. And there is no legal basis for any country in the world, including the Union itself, to recognize or not recognize our language. Our language is a question for our people under international law. We have a bilateral clause that we use in bilateral relations that is exactly the same for the Bulgarian language like it is for the Macedonian language. And I'm gonna respond on the question, these 5 issues that Bulgarian side raised. The Bulgarian side raised 5 issues on our bilateral track, saying that if we are able to find an understanding on those, Sofia will be able to give us the green light to start the accession talks. At the meetings of Brdo, however, Bulgaria was not able to confirm this position. And we cannot artificially distinguish between the bilateral track and the negotiating framework. If we go in line with the Portuguese proposal, the proposal of the rotating presidencies, starting from Germany, Portugal, and now Slovenia, on the language issue, and on the link in the negotiating framework with the 5 questions, with the bilateral track, I think we will be able to find a solution within reason. There is, and I'm going to end with this, there is one study by a Bulgarian think tank that I just read about that says that the so-called hate speech on the social media, private citizens on their Facebook accounts and Twitter, etc., has risen substantially after the policy of the veto. So I am sad to say that actually this whole derailment of the relationship is an investment into antagonism and not into friendship. If you don't respect the dignity of your neighbor, it is really difficult to become closer and to become friends. And the claim on the discrimination against Macedonian citizens of Bulgarian ethnic origin. We don't have a single case that is brought before the Commission for Anti-Discrimination on this ground. We don't really have a case in the European Court of Human Rights, unlike some other cases, but I won't go in that direction. And we don't really have a case in our courts on this. And I'm sorry to say, but when, in addition to the 5 issues, so you raise the issue of discrimination, and we don't really have a case. You raise the issue of census. We don't even know the results yet of that census. It looks like you create a moving target. And I think it's important to know what exactly it is that we need to solve. And the more we talk about this publicly, the less negotiations are taking place. The more we negotiate, the more careful we're going to be when we talk about this publicly. So I've said it in my own country on several occasions, and I'm going to repeat it here. If the preconditions to move towards Europe are not in line with European values, and if we are preconditioned on the Macedonian language, then I am fine with us not really making progress towards the European Union. Because that union will not be a union of a community of values. You cannot create an anti-European condition and present it as a criteria for a country to move towards the European Union, not after we solved the big mountain with the name issue. We were only able to add North to the name Macedonia, the adjective North, because Greece accepted our right of self-determination, and because the language is the Macedonian language. Thank you.
Thank you very much.